Hello once again folks, back on the garage. I've had quite a lot of progress since the last video. Well, the last video I released actually was a re-release of the headlining, which I had to edit because I wrongly named the company of the supplier, so I just decided to keep that supplier out of the picture altogether. But hey ho, that's now done and re-released, so thank you for watching that again. On this video I'm going to do pretty much an update of all the other bits and bobs I've done in the car, a lot of which I haven't filmed because it's just lots of little piddly bits, which it's just easier to do them and show you the result. But on this video, I've done one poly bush set up on the tramp bar. It's got funny tramp bars on this because it's the export model, and you can't buy the poly bushes for them. So I've had to go and make my own poly bushes. So I've done one and got the hang of what I'm doing. So on this video, mostly I'm going to show you how I did that. So there's the one I've already done, actually fitted to the car. So if you know Escorts and you know what the tramp bars look like, you'll know they don't look like this normally. But this is the export market. It's got a shorter bar and this bracket angles back further. So I suppose it'll do the same job, well, time will tell. But that's it fitted. And this is it off the car. So it's made a bit of a mistake on this one. I released it too soon, so it got a bit caught up on my jig I've made, which I'll show you now. And so this one, which is the second pour I did, was much better. So I'll show you the jig. So this is basically the jig I've built. So the bar, so you can see it's a couple of bolts put through on a bit of angle, which was set up before I started taking the bushes out of the old ones. And to get the levels right, because you'll see there's a canter, they're not straight either, they've got a shape to them. So to get that right, I've mushed up something like that, and using the tape there makes a good release agent of sorts. That's the centre bush that come out of there. So that's in there. Use plasticine to seal that against that, and then you put this in place. Oh, other way around, and like so. And then again, these are not central in the holes, as you can see with that. So getting bushes through them was almost impossible. So before I take that bush out, I need to cast this bush. Otherwise I won't get my centres correct. So I'm having to do these one at a time. And I'm using this stuff from Moldcraft, Polycasting 70 Shore hardness, which is about the same as rubber. So they're not hard, they're about the same as the rubber that come off them, but of course these were gapped, so I had a bit more give in them, and these will be solid. So I set you up on a tripod now and show you what I do next. Rightio, now like a lot of things on this project, this has been a first for me. So there's been a lot of firsts on this Escort project. I've never cast these bushes before, and there's the leftover. So the other thing I've learned as well is I'm mixing too much. So I mixed up to 40 or 4, whatever that is, fluid ounces or something. Anyway, so you mix it half and half, and I mix up 2 and 2, which made up 4, and I only used about 2. So next time I'll mix up just over 1 of each, and should just have enough for 1 pour, so I'm not wasting it. But before we come to that, we'll set the mould in place. And what I've also learned from the other one is once you've cleaned out got the old rubber out, which I'll show afterwards I've done this, because I need to keep that in place as best we can to keep the centres, is using 80 grit paper. Give that a good roughing out in there, and that gives a nice key for the rubber or the polyurethane to key into, hold it in place. The same on the inner piece. I've given that a good roughing up as well. And of course, you'll see these are nice and black. I've just given these a nice quick coat of chassis black just to tidy them up. They were in pretty good condition apart from the bushes, to be fair. So that's that nicely roughed up. Now with the plasticine, I need to seal little gaps, otherwise it'll just all pour out. Even though it mixes up fairly thickly, it still will find every hole. So a bit of plasticine or wax will do the job as well. If you look, glass fibre makers use like a yellow wax, that'll do exactly the same thing. In fact, I've got that here somewhere, but I couldn't find it, so it'll have to be plasticine. Now once this is rammed into there, we'll use a nice sharp blade with a nice square edge on it, which is this one, to trim that back. I'm going to really ram it into the gaps first. Right, that should do us. Stop it leaking away down there. All I've been doing with this is really eyeballing it into place and then using a spirit level to get this across the flange straight. Again, just eyeballing this. All that really matters here is that it's straight that way, according to the what do you call that bit? Bush holding part of it, I suppose. And that the rod through the centre is also straight with that one. That's the idea. The jig and the centres are of course correct. So I can't take that one out yet. Except no expert, first time doing this. Well, actually the third time doing it now because I've done the two other bushes. But again, it's just a new way of doing something, and it's quite interesting to do it actually with mixing up the stuff, and it goes off really rapidly, so you've got to watch it. And I get the excuse to play with plasticine, which I haven't played with since I was a kid, so happy days. I went to hold that square. I was using the previous rod to bolt it down, but of course I don't have a spare one now. What can we do? Must have something here we can put around that to hold that down square with. That'll do us. Right, super. Let's mix up some goop. Another thing I learned was your mixing stick, using a paint stick, cut the end flat, otherwise you won't get into the corners to mix it up properly. Right then, let's have a look. So we mixed up 4 last time. Let's mix up. I'm not entirely sure I trust these measurements on these, because from there to there, that's not going to be the same measurement from there to there as it is from there to there, because the cup's wider from there to there for a start. And it's shorter again there. Or maybe if I come to just above there, I reckon. Bear with, I think I'm going to go and check these with water and come back. Right, okay. After running this one up to 10 on there, then tipping it in there, and then run it in 10 again and tipping it in there, they are fairly accurate, to be fair, so I should have trusted them. Okay, so let's do that then. So these are part A and part B. As you can see, Moldcraft PT Flex 70 PU casting rubber. Turn to that. It should be right, because if I mix up, yeah, should be just enough. Maybe I should just mix up just a tad more, just to be on the safe side. Oh, not enough. Then you've got the colouring, which is a horrible goopy little stuff. Just doink a bit of that. You don't need much of this as it happens. Just spoon a bit of it in. That's about all you need. And mix away. Making sure all the sides are scraped off. You probably don't want to mix it a bit less vigorously than that to stop air bubbles getting caught in it. And I suppose if you really wanted to go to town, have a vacuum chamber and vacuum it out, get all the air bubbles perfectly out of it. They don't have such toys, so we've got to go with what we got. Not overly concerned about the finished look on it, because it's all out of sight underneath the car anyway. I just want them to be functional. The colour up there needs to go in. Okay, and just pour it in. I'm glad I mix up a touch more. And give that a thumping. You can up. Seems to be okay on the air bubble front. Nothing seems to be rising. So we leave that to set now. Now the setting time on here says it's 30 minutes, but I found 30 minutes was too soon and releasing the other one. So I've left it a couple of hours. So we'll leave a couple of hours go by and we'll come back to that. And while we're waiting for that to set off, I'll run you through where we're at with the car. So I've roughly got a battery in place in the back there and a fuel pump running into a jerry can. So we'll set that up now and we'll get the car started so you can hear it running. The fuel tank is in place and cleaned up and tidied up, but I'm waiting for some bits and bobs to be able to bring that around through a filter into the fuel pump. And I've yet to rig up a proper relay setup, but I have got a cable. I added a cable in the loom ready for the fuel pump at the moment. We're just doing that because that's safe. You'll see the badges are on. The grill is on, but temporarily. See if I can do this one-handed. And bits and bobs are on there, ready with the bonnet release and all that is in place. That's in place, which is nice. And engine is ready to go. We'll pull that off so it doesn't make a funny flappy noise. That's all running. It's not set up at all yet. That's why it's conked out and it's cold, and I've got no water in it yet either, so we don't want to run it too long. We're water pipes or the water side is all ready to go, as you've seen on the previous one. Alternator's in and works, so that's nice to know. I've got a little gauge in the car which is showing 12 volts on that, or 14 volts as it's running. Got a little bank of relays ready to go, one for the fan, one for the fuel pump. I can't remember what the other two are for. I got my in mind for them to do something. Yes, what else have we been doing? The rear seats are in, and some messing around to do with that. Carpet is loosely fitted. Interior is starting to go back in. Door cards are on, which is nice. So it's starting to feel like a car. The rear glass is in, and I have promised I'm going to do a video on that. And I intend to do that. We'll do the front glass, but this screen has got a couple of scratches in it, which I can't get out, and it's only a toughened screen anyway. So West Wales Rally Spares do a laminated screen for a reasonable price. So Mrs. Dave and I are going to go for a jolly up to West Wales and pick one of those up. The rear lights are on, number plates are on. Yeah, we were making nice progress here. The paint is all cleaned up and finished. The nasty run that was down that side I've taken out using the same method as I showed previously on one of my previous videos on removing runs. Door mirrors are fitted. So we're getting somewhere. It's a fair bit of progress. Lots of little jobs which are boring to watch, but all done and dusted. So handbrake is on, brakes are done. Oh, that reminds me, on the brakes front, on these front calipers, on a previous video, which I had some confusion over what was going on with how these work. They do need a crossover pipe as it happens. Somebody mentioned this, I can't remember who, but you'll know who you are, so thank you for your comment. Is when it's fed from just one, because previously on a Princess or whatever these would have been on, there'd have been two flexies going into there. So what we do, because the two flexies, one sets the bottom pistons, the other one sets the top pistons. So what we do to compensate that is come in at this point, which then feeds the bottom two through this side, which then goes through and feeds the top two, and then we can bleed it all off on the top there with the bead nipples there. So I've checked all that out. I've tested it all with air. That's all good. Again, I'm not going to go put in brake fluid in that just yet, because I don't like the stuff that's corrosive and nasty. I might even try the silicone brake fluid, although I've heard some say they don't like it because it feels a bit spongy, but at least it's not going to corrode and destroy everything. I think that's about it on the update front. I had a chat with BAR Props in Neath about making me a prop shaft, which also needs to be done underneath there. I was hoping they'd let me film them making it, but when I had a chat with them today, they said no, they're not going to let any trade secrets out, so they're not going to let me film it. But I'll show you the before and after and show you what as much as I can get from it. But yeah, there we go. I don't think there's any more to say about that just yet. We'll leave that set off and come back to you. So that's a close-up of what we're looking like. And in fact, this has only been about 10 minutes or so, and this pot is already going off. It's incredible how fast it goes off. And it's surprisingly warm as well. It kicks off a fair bit of heat as it's setting as well. But like I said, I learned from the previous mistake where I got all excited and took it apart at that point. I'm going to leave it well alone now to set off fully. Once that's set off fully, we can then start digging this rubber out of this one. I'll show you how I do that. I'm not setting fire to it because I value my life and I don't want cancer. So I'll show you how I cut the rubber out, and just a safer way of doing it. Okay, so we've also got the fan, the electric fan there, rigged up to a temperature switch so we can set it, and that's through that relay there. So that's done that a few times in the past. It uses a cylinder type setup with a probe that goes into the radiator, and this is set up straight from battery live, obviously through a fuse. So even when the ignition's off, the water will go through by natural convection, and the fan will still come on and help cool the car down even after it's shut off. I found I've done that in the previous Escort and the Pop, and it worked an absolute treat. Alright then, let's have a go at demolding this. It's been a good couple of hours since we did it, so we should be okay to go. Nice and solid, that's a good thing. That thumping around, if you can hear it, is a magpie running around on the roof of my garage. Like a nuisance. It's a pest, he is. Right then. Moment of truth. Is it coming off? There she goes. Lovely, bit of clean up. Bit of tape got encapsulated a little bit, but not nothing significant. I should have probably redone the tape again. Do that ready for the next one. On the whole, happy days. So what we'll do next, or I'll do next time, well, it'll be same video next day when I get a chance. It's time to get on a bit now. I will cut this out. Or just do that. I will pop this out and we'll clean that up. But I'm going in and watching a bit of telly now. I'm tired. It's the next day. I've been to work. I've come home from work. I've had my tea. And now we're going to have a play in the garage. Right, so what I was doing with the previous bushes, because this one's just fallen out, is using a saw just to cut them out. So with a nice, reasonably fresh blade, this cuts out quite easily, as you'll see actually if I do it on that. See how easily it cuts to get the worst of it off. Because the very last thing you want to be doing, as I mentioned before, is burning this stuff out. This stuff really gives off some toxic, nasty fumes when you burn it. Don't do that. That's a really bad idea. Okay, so we'll clean this up first. Well, so I'll clean this up. I'll show you what I was doing to clean these up. And then we'll start cleaning everything else up. Then we'll pour a new another bush. Right, to clean these up, again using a hacksaw, just cut in the, you see how quickly and easily the rubber cuts away now. So you don't need to go burning it off when it comes off that easily. And there's a double side to this, is that these hacksaw cuts leave some scratches in the inner pin that will help the poly stuff to stick to. Once cleaned up, you wire brush and a drill will do exactly the same thing. Use a bit of 80 grit to scratch it up. Lovely, that's ready. Put that to one side so we will lose it. And then with this, very similar, but using this blade, getting the worst of the rubber out, and then using this sanding drum in the drill to finish it off. You may be able to see as well, I'm trying to curve the blade slightly like that to get it to get in, get the rubber out. Seems to work. Lovely. Same again, just give it a scratching up with the 80 grit. Alright, so you can see we're all polished up, we're all carefully sealed off inside there and around the edge. We're all levelled off that way and that way. So now we're going to mix up our goop and let's pour away. Okay. We'll do the same mix we did last time. 1.5 and then 3. Gonna try and be a bit more careful when I mix it this time, not really introduce so many bubbles. What I am surprised at is how easy this is to do. I've seen a few other fellas doing this on YouTube, and I thought, well, that looks like a bit of a faff to do. It's definitely worthwhile doing, and probably a little bit more cheaper than Polybushes, of course, depending on what application you're going for. Some Polybushes are quite expensive, so this would definitely be a cheaper way of doing it. So all in all, this has probably cost me, with the 2 lots of pots, about 30 quid. Right, I think you're on to something there. The colour's still in it. And just carefully pour away. So you've got to tap, try and get the air out of it. The thing is, you've got to be, that's the only thing with it, it's a fast cure, and when they say fast cure, they ain't kidding. I've also seen if you pour from a stream, that helps pull the air bubbles out of it as well, apparently. We have a little bumping. It's pretty good, not many air bubbles rising, so happy days, right? Let's give that its 2 hours to cure. That's it, freshly poured. You'll notice I moved this slightly as well, because as you pour it, you'll see where the levels are, and you can adjust your, if you've got a device like this set up like this, you can adjust your angles a little bit just to get it right. Righto, we are set. Let's go with a demold. This is set overnight, in fact, so it should be nice and solid. Ooh. Right, let's get something levery in there. There we go. Lovely. Oh, that's the best one yet. Fab. Getting better with them as I'm doing them. Don't need to do any more though. That's a good. So there we are. That's all good. Let's stick it on the car and see if it fits. Should do. Well, the good news is they both fitted straight back in place with no major waggling, so that's encouraging. That means the axle can't be a million miles off where it should be. And I've got lock nuts to go back on, lock nuts to go back on them, and I'll tighten those up once the car's back on its weight, back off the axle stands on the ground and sitting on its weight on the axles. That's when I'll tighten all the nuts up for that. Excellent, that's good news. They've worked very well. I'm quite pleased that they went back on without having to mess around with the axle. So careful to measure the axle in the right place from side to side. And the fact that they've simply slotted into place is really good news. The pouring and mixing and making those poly bushes was a lot easier than I thought it was going to be. When you see videos of that being done, it looks like a bit of a faff, but actually it's just about being methodical and careful and making sure everything's sealed off and just taking your time with it. And it's like anything, if you don't rush it, take your time, be methodical, it all works out a treat. And that saved a fortune, because trying to get hold of those bushes is almost impossible. There is, I've seen one guy on eBay selling a set done, and I think he wanted over 200 quid for them. So I've saved an absolute fortune there. So again, done something new, first time, and it's worked out. Well pleased with that. So something else we know how to do. And hopefully you've learned something from it too, and will be encouraged and motivated to do so as well if you need to. Cheers, thanks for watching. See you on the next one. So again, something new to be done, something done. Let's try and rearrange those words into a sentence that makes actual sense.